Meet here in the group stage. We're on to Site Delta for map number 1 of this best of 3. In the bottom right, has the red Terran for Vitality. He is Maru.
Top left side of Site Delta, we are looking at the main base of the man who's representing Dragon Kaizi Gaming. This is herO. Just ran into him actually in the hallways over here, and I said, "Oh, congrats, you played really well." He's like, "Yeah, I think I played really well." And I was like, "Yeah, if there was ever a moment to say where you thought you played really well, I definitely think that was it." Because he was buzzing, he was smiling obviously from ear to ear. Because I think what he knows as well, what he just did was spectacular. That was incredibly clean. We know that herO is good, but very often he's good in these scrappy moments, and he can make life a little bit harder on himself. That was just an uncharacteristic series for herO because it was so damn clean.
Yeah, honestly, if this was even last year, again, we were expecting herO to be one of the favorites. He was one of the highest rated in the cards and all that good stuff. If he was playing that cleanly, you would still remark on it, because even last year's herO would occasionally have that too aggressive blink forward, or the move out that was a little questionable, or the build order that was like, really, that one? Okay, that's why you lost, but like win the rest of the series. But no, that was one of the cleanest herOs like really ever consistently back-to-back games. And we're hoping he can show it versus Maru, just because we both want that really amazing series. Their Atlanta series did go very, very close, but then I remember it still kind of having a little bit of that scrappiness and like, oh, that wasn't really the best play from either one. Again, like sickness was also going around Atlanta at the time too. But it feels like this is finally the time in which they have been both at the top of their form. They're healthy, they're feeling rested, they're feeling good about themselves. And so we should be able to see a really top-tier herO versus Maru.
Yeah, I know it's a cliche when we say like, oh, they were jet-lagged or whatnot, and that's obviously a bit of a meme, but they truly were both a bit under the weather in Atlanta. If you watched herO play, you could see the boy cough quite a few times in the middle of his games. As soon as he was out of a game, you could see that he really wasn't doing that well. Not the case today at all. The man is smiling, he's buzzing, he's got a very energetic vibe to it. And Maru, of course, had an underwhelming GSL Katowice season too. Maybe didn't have the best Atlanta either. Maru too was feeling under the weather. Reports came out that he really was sick, that he wasn't feeling well, locked himself up in his hotel room. Maru did have a very good performance in the WTL Katowice, and I feel like that's something that a lot of people kind of look past, like ISQ. He was the MVP of the regular season, played like 22 games, he went 21-1, only dropped one map against herO while also defeating herO, so it's not that everything has been bad for Maru, guys. He was still literally the best performing player in the most prestigious team league out there.
Yeah, and definitely proved that he can still play to that top form in Masters Coliseum 7 as well. We do have the openers kind of a little more set now, and we have Maru being a bit greedy, so to go for a 1-max expand, that's totally fine and normal, but then the Hellion into Cyclone here, covering that third command center on the high ground. herO, meanwhile, as you said, more so going for the Twilight Council's expectation, but this Twilight Council starting off with Blink. The number of gateways is now the question beyond that. Solid wall against the Hellions too. They're not going to get so much as far as damage, none at all in fact, but they also don't get any scouting.
Nope. herO is going to let the Shade not finish up. He's going to cancel it. Maybe worried about the 2 extra units showing up, but it's not going to be a 4 Hellion opening. And if it was, most of the time Maru would try a little bit harder to hide it. So it's double Hellion into double Cyclone. In the games that Maru played earlier against Showtime, he had a crazy amount of Cyclones in all scenarios. One of the games, Showtime even opened up with a Robo by the looks of it on Heartland. The man still had 6 Cyclones. Against the Phoenixes on Solaris, he ended up like 8 Cyclones and Ravens. And Maru is obviously a god and keeping Ravens alive against Phoenix. It's just going to be 2 Cyclones for now, probably safety Cyclones. Can help out against aggression, they can lock on War Prisms. And Stalkers are good in killing Cyclones, but obviously if they're firing at Cyclones, they can't kill a tank. And if you're going for the tank, well, then the Cyclones actually deal a lot of damage, so I kind of like these Cyclones here by Maru.
Yeah, I mean, the additional Cyclones in the previous TVP we played might be because of the expectations, the difference of the openers that Showtime versus herO would play. But yeah, the Twilight Council, it was a cute little block there, but a Twilight Council coming down. And how many gateways are we on? It's going to actually be right into a robotics bay on 2 bases for herO. This is something that, again, Maru is not going to be able to scout for a long time, but he is going to be able to scout the later 3rd Nexus, which is going to start to pop questions into his mind as exactly what this is. The Hellion gets kind of a perfect timing, in fact, sees that it comes down.
Build otherwise, it's pretty sweet for Maru though, because he went super quick triple CC, he's gonna have a great economy, and he's like, oh, awesome, you're actually playing somewhat defensively. Not the end of the world for herO, because he's got a strong defensive setup, he is stacking up rather quickly. This be a lot more troublesome if you're trying to stay on Zealot Stalker. Zealot Stalker is very good against small armies, weird move outs, against triple CC, strong Terran economy, double eBay. The Zealot Stalker is not all that great, so both players have stuff to get excited over, but I think if you would have presented this scenario 5.5 minutes into a game to Maru, you'd be like, oh yeah, I will gladly take this.
Yeah, herO does know the situation now that he's got some scouting in the main base. Maru didn't quite get to the back of herO's base to confirm that robotic space. Maybe there's still some question there. We did see some more emphasized 2-base Templar archives from like Australia yesterday, for instance. But now we are getting into the mid-game of TVP, where Maru is very comfortable in his economic setup. Getting to his actual third base on location shouldn't be too difficult, and with all the upgrades on the way here for the Terran, we can see them finishing up soon with the medevac timing. We might finally start to get some dancing around in the middle of the map. We do have a little dance there as the Cyclone's got aggressive on the depths, Stalkers blink forward, Tank now realizes I could be in a better position.
Yeah, these seconds are actually kind of important for herO, because you don't just want to sit at home and let Maru float over that orbital, immediately saturate that mineral line. Right now Maru's got 53 SCVs. That's obviously too many for 2 bases, so Maru wants to float over that third, and just having your Stalkers there, picking up a Cyclone and pretending at least that it should be somewhat scary for Maru to do this, saturate the base, float it over, is nice, but obviously herO cannot get away with this forever, because Maru will look at it and be like, cool, I've got +1, Combat Shield is about to finish up, Stim is ready, I am not afraid of 6 Stalkers anymore.
No, he's definitely not that. Not even getting any units picked off, really. And so we do have Maru finally moving out with all of his production set up. A lone tank to help anchor and catching 2 Stalkers, maybe even 3, thanks to the Cyclone with the additional range there. That is nicely done. Scan ahead to determine what composition awaits him. 2 Colossus, handful of sentries as a...
Double drop into the main? Double drop.
Yes, there is a double drop actually on top of a 4th base, but could go into the main and certainly threatening to pull a herO in both directions at the same time. I'm not sure there's a shield battery at the 3rd. There might be, but now there's no units. Yeah, that shield battery is, well, it was there, not for very much longer.
This is very scary for herO, because he made that misblink in the center of the map. He lost a couple of Stalkers. He already had a few less units than Maru. He does have a greatly timed Zealot counterattack, so he's finding damage, but we can only assume that Maru is going to find damage as well in the main base, because herO's got very few units here, warps in a couple of Stalkers. That Colossus didn't expect that. That's actually fantastic. Then with the extra Stalkers, Zealot warp in, it might be good enough, but now these Colossi are a little bit exposed. The first one goes down very quickly, and there is nothing to save. The second one, that Nexus is running low on HP as well. The Disruptor shows up, and Maru with the hot pickup is going to save these units, kill the Disruptor, and I actually think he's very close to killing this Nexus as well. If he would go for it with these 2 Marauders in the tank, he might be able to get it.
Yeah, he might just be saying, well, eventually I'm going to get that. He has certainly torn herO apart here. That's too many Colossus losses. I'm not even sure exactly if he recalled enough there. herO definitely not as prepared as he could have been. Basically, if he had that army on the 3rd in front of the shield battery in a perfect world, then he might have been perfectly okay, especially with force fields blocking out the choke too, but that was too much to ask for. Maru did an excellent job with the job in the main, and is now going to continue pressuring the 3rd base.
There is a battery now though. We could potentially use battery overcharge to heal up that Nexus as well. The battery overcharge gets popped very early. Tank Siege is up far away, but the Disruptor does go down. Maru wants that Nexus. Maru will get that Nexus. Battery overcharge could not save it. Is going to unload a few more units in the back of the main as well, and a 2-base herO is just in all sorts of trouble. We do have another Zealot counterattack on the other side of the map, but I'm afraid that these Zealots are simply never going to do as much as Maru's main army has accomplished. And honestly, Maru could be perfectly happy right now and temporarily go home and be like, I'll be back by the time this base is finished up again. Right before you get anything out of it, that's when I'm going to show up probably with 2-2 bio, Vikings, Marauders, tanks. It's a nightmare game for herO.
Yeah, it's a nightmare game, and it's just these are salt to the wound. He's trying to get his Stalkers on the Widow Mines to friendly fire splash the Widow Mines down, hopefully before the Stalker gets popped by the Widow Mine. And both times the timing didn't work out, so it's just the extra little painful moment there. Absolutely, Maru could wait a little while and come back later. It looks like he's waited long enough. which is approximately 5 seconds. Back into the main base that he goes. 5 medevacs worth of units hitting all the production. herO is already trying to do something on the map, so decides, well, of course, I got to go for the base trade, but kind of a small army doing that. Even the upgrades of Maru close to finishing as well to help him out. And, I mean, Maru could lift. Maru could come back with the army in the main base, and it's just so unlikely that hero's base trade is going to work, but it's the only thing he's got.
Yeah, desperate times call for desperate measures. That's probably what herO is thinking over here. But the man who went 4-0 in his Group A and 8-1 in map set, SCVs beat Stalkers. And we're going to see some of that here as the Colossus are not going to live forever. There's very little anti-air. GG gets called. Maru with an excellent build order, great execution, and herO with a tiny slip-up. When he was retreating with those Stalkers in the center, I kind of felt that was the beginning of the wall crumbling already. Then you lose a few more units than you're supposed to. One of your Stalkers is a bit better than Bruce. Temporarily lost track of the army. Found that double drop that was heading towards the main, unloaded at the 4th, but that opened the doors in the 3rd. And maybe he could have positioned things differently, but Maru was there to capitalize when he needed it the most.
The thing is, some people might be hearing the Stalker mistake in the middle and be like, wow, that's such a small thing, you know? Like, that's really absurd. No wonder Protoss doesn't win, right? But the thing is that Maru is obviously playing perfect himself. He got away with a greedy build order. He is clearly playing up to the standards of macro that we expect, as well as the micro and some of the concaving of the Marauders on the 3rd base. So, of course, it was literally just about who was going to play most perfect from that situation. And herO absolutely didn't. Lost a couple of Stalkers and was slightly out of position here. And the loss was too great. Arguably, he could have put the shield battery in a different location, too, so it didn't immediately get bopped. Maru just played that start to finish almost like he was versing an AI, which is not to discredit herO, just saying that Maru really got to play his game and play it as well as he can.
Yep, herO had one tiny moment with a few Zealots running into the 3rd, but Maru just found more damage than those Zealots did. And that was kind of the beginning of the end. Very nice game by Maru. Felt like he kind of knew what herO was going to do. You could really see that herO was very paranoid about early game Maru aggression, because Maru finds so much success against Protoss in those first 4 or 5 minutes. No matter really what the opening is, whether it's Cyclones, Marines, combination of Widow Mines and Marines, Maru can always find damage if he wants to. herO was very worried about it, even temporarily walled himself in on 2 bases. And meanwhile, Maru is absolutely chilling on the other side of the map. Triple CC, even work account. And yeah, those games are very pleasant to play for a Terran player. And now it's obviously very interesting to see how are they going to open up in game 2, because Maru could completely flip the script. Yep. And instead of going this macro oriented, he could go very aggressive. And if then herO feels like, oh man, I was too safe, I took all my guesses, I even dropped the Robo Bay on 2 bases, can't be doing that, I want to rush up to 3 bases, there's a chance that Maru punishes him for it immediately.
Anything that Maru does is intimidating, and that is the effect of Maru when he's playing at his absolute best. And here he is, now on to Hardlead for map number 2. This man is looking for the quick and easy 2-0 in the bottom right for Vitality. He is Maru.
Top left side, we are looking at the main base of one of the 3 Protoss players in the group of death, representing Dragon Kaisi Gaming. This is herO. Where herO has a crazy amount of history with players like Dark, where it can also get a bit funny because they both play in so many of these online tournaments, and in quite a few of them there is serious money on the line. So of course they're going to try, because nobody plays for hours to then be like, oh, no, I'm playing somebody that's very good, now I'm going to meme. No, you do develop a bit of a strange meta. Maru is of course the complete opposite. Like Maru and SerO are basically the kids that are too cool for school, and they're like, yeah, you guys can battle and all this small online stuff. So herO and Maru, they just don't play that much. And then obviously in your mind you start theory crafting, okay, like what happened the last time we played, what does Maru like to do? You take a look at some of the other games that Maru has played against different Protosses, you're like, man, he finds so much success with early aggression, and then in your herO you're like, alright, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to be very safe. And he kind of got punished for it in that very first game. He's going Nexus before Cybercore here, Zombie Grub. Yep. I feel like it's fallen a tiny bit out of the fashion, or out of the meta, but he likes it, I guess.
Yeah, well, we might be hoping that he's not going to get punished for it. There's a Reaper coming out for Maru. It's not unexpected, but then also the change-up is a factory expand compared to the 1 racks that he showed in the last game. He might still go ahead and lead into, you know, somewhat of a 3-base setup and not be totally aggressive, but this does lend a little bit more to the aggression. And herO is not going to send out a probe to even attempt to scout this. All right, so he does choose a lot of his PVTs to not probe scout, so the Reaper's actually scouting exactly for something hidden before it heads over across the map, where it is going to be able to hop into the main base as there is no wall for herO there, and it's going to be a Stargate choice for the Protoss this time around.
I find it a bit surprising because herO definitely does his best work with Twilight Council openings in this matchup. His Stargate games are pretty well. Also, Maru is absolutely fantastic in playing against Stargate, and it's super important for herO to keep this hidden, because if you can keep Maru in the dark, and Maru doesn't know that this is a Stargate opening, there is a chance that Maru just makes double Widow Mine, puts it inside of a medevac, flies it to the other side of the map, and if 3 Phoenixes are waiting for it, well then herO is off to a fantastic start. But Maru, being Maru, is obviously always thinking about that threat, that danger, and there is a good chance that he will find a clever way to scout this.
Yeah, there's also a possibility that this isn't going to be Phoenix, rather an Oracle into still a Twilight Council fairly quick. So that's what I'm wondering now, as we see an Oracle start off, which means they're not going to have those Phoenix to ideally find the medevac while it still has the Widow Mines involved inside of it, and then you just take it down. Or worst case scenario, you can pick up the Widow Mines. Well, if you have an Oracle that's across the map, hasn't scouted this quite quickly enough, and it's not going to come back in time to help out, and now the Reaper actually gets a perfect scout because it also saw what popped out of that Stargate. That is very nice for Maru indeed.
And did you see that? By the way, herO started up a Phoenix, and he's like, Maru, I'm building Phoenix, and then as soon as the Reaper died, he cancels the Phoenix. And you were spot on. It's a single Oracle into a very quick Twilight Council. That Oracle is going to see this medevac. Of course, the Oracle cannot possibly figure out what's inside of this medevac. Don't really like that revelation, because there's really no reason to move the Oracle very far away, but I guess he feels that he has nothing better to do with his energy at the moment.
I guess so. The follow-up to that, well, we saw his eventual Widow Mine, single Widow Mine drop. Is pretty much always going to be that barracks. Now the Raven is going to come out as well. herO did finish the Phoenix that he was building.
Yep, just one.
Yeah, literally just the one. Which Maru, seeing as he was tagged, knowing that a Phoenix could pop out and the probe's going to be ready to pull anyways and whatnot, he's going to back away. And it's not like he has to scout. He knows exactly what his opponent has gone into.
Oh, he canceled it. It was very far along. He cancelled it at the absolute last second. I think it's always nice to have a single Phoenix, because then Maru cannot just have a medevac idling behind your main base, whether it's a Widow Mine that was inside of it or a couple of Marauders later on. I think having a single unit is nice, but we do know that herO loves to F2, and maybe he feels that it's just annoying to have one Phoenix in the mix. It's going to keep on flying to the front. There's probably a reason for it. Quick 3 bases. Twilight Council is going to be the follow-up. Forges are incredibly important if you want to build a lot of gateway units, and that's why herO is going to warp in. I wonder when he's going to drop the Robo, since he's taking a lot of gases. I kind of feel that the Robo and the Robo Bay is necessary, but you also have to ask yourself, when is it too much tech? Can you really open Stargate, Twilight Council, and then a quick Robo and a Robo Bay? Most of the time it's 2 out of those 3 things, not all 3.
Yeah, maneuvering around all that investment technology, you have even less units as a Protoss player, which is already, high quality, low quantity. So it's a little scary. We have Maru's perspective here, and you can see just how precise he is. I mean, you guys talked a little bit about the speed kind of being a surprise. It's more about his precision, but I think he absolutely can turn on his speed when he needs to. It's just in this early game, yeah, there's not necessarily 5 drops going on and an army to control in a concave and whatnot. So it's still pretty quick. It's very precise, and it is as calm as you would expect from this Titan of Terran as he builds up into that 3-1-1. Might actually push out, I imagine, Sim of Combat Chill getting close to finishing. Raven included too. Went to hide in the back in case Phoenix, I think, did arrive, but now it's on the front.
I have never seen Hardlet that red, by the way. That's crazy. I don't know what kind of graphics settings Maru is using, but it looked like a brand new map, Zombie Grub. Like, those colors are unreal. But yeah, Maru is incredibly clean, incredibly efficient. He is going to load up 2 medevacs right now, as herO is going to try to do some scouting. Doesn't have a lot of energy, kind of misses it. Stalkers find a few of these units. Now, if you're herO right now, you see no medevacs, and you only see like 8 Marines and Marauder. I want to say the alarm bells should go off a little bit, but obviously you have no idea where they should go off. Is it the left side? Is it a flank in the center of the map to pounce on the Stalkers? Or is it a drop that's going towards the top right?
Yeah, that's barely out of the Zonaga vision too. So it's that one, by the way. It's heading right towards the main base. Seems like he is predicting that this is going to be the most likely scenario, so a couple more Stalkers get warped in. But if the drop fully unloads, then that's not enough, but that is the key thing. The Stalkers jumped on top with the help of the cannon to take down one medevac. One still unloading, one in a quarter, shall we say, so it's still a nuisance. And actually, he's still going to get a decent amount of Stalkers. Overcharge also having to be used in the main base to help out these Stalkers. A little awkward, but is taken care of.
Pretty clean by herO, I think, in the end. Just having the cannon and the battery there makes your life so much easier. If it was only a battery, he'd be in trouble. If it's only a cannon, he's in trouble. The combination of those two static defenses really working well together. Maybe the Stalkers could have been a tiny bit closer towards the battery in the very beginning. But since herO, this game, was the one who went up to 3 bases way quicker than Maru, those kind of traits are completely okay. I think herO's going to be quite happy with that. He wants that Raven. He's going to get that Raven. As Maru probably thought he was going to stop with it. Now herO turns around again, drops a bunch of force-filled shapes of a couple of Marines. Grab the Widow Mine there to come along with it as well. Armory is close to finishing up, but it's not quite there yet. But herO even already has a cannon in the 3rd base as well.
Yeah, he's not going to take much damage, well, as long as he pulls the probes correctly, and he does indeed. Even the Zealots really not getting too bad of a splash. Maru, I think you can kind of tell if you're really paying attention to his camera that he's not exactly thrilled the way this has gone. The observer showed us just how efficient that resource trade in the main ended up being, and otherwise herO has made sure he takes no unnecessary damage. Widow Mine
might fire again.
Yeah, it might.
I think it will, because cannons, they take a surprisingly long time to build. And you can obviously move it around a little bit as well, but then would still take a couple of shots. herO is going to lose a decent amount of probes. There could be 5 or 6 to a single shot. 5 it is. herO does get on top of the 3rd though, and honestly doesn't have to run into this natural, of course, right? Enjoy your double Robo Bay +2 weapons while you're on 3 bases, and try to soft contain Maru on 2.
Yeah, this is the time to display the same patience and just precision game that he showed versus Raynor, and not the time to blink in super aggressively and send your Zealots into a choke, which is still kind of a concern. But he does kind of blink in there little bits, but ultimately is waiting. Widow Mine drops will continue. I hope that herO isn't paying attention at the right moment, but we also have an evening of the worker kills. Oh god, no, that's not it. Oh jeez.
Wow, how did he do that? That's crazy.
Yeah, that was very important. I was going to say they both killed 7 workers, but now it's, well, a little bit more on the side of Maru. He just killed 9 in total, I suppose. But yeah, the attack now has Colossus that's heading into the natural, and that was missing, right? Now that the Colossus are out, it's actually Maru who has to be extremely worried about the fact that he's choked into his own natural. He does manage to get out in the 3rd base, will be able to spread a little bit more, and does have an upgrade lead. But let's see if the Colossus can just go ahead and pick apart this army.
That's a crazy amount of Marauders, by the way, so herO really needs to be cautious with those forward blinks. If you stay at range and you just try to utilize the range of those Colossus and now have extended thermal lens, you're okay, but you cannot blink forward into that many Widow Mines and into that many Marauders, even if you have a bunch of Zealots in the mix. First few Ghosts, I believe, are on the battlefield already as well, so an EMP could land on the sentries or could just take away the shields from the Zealots. Like, herO has played a really good game. I think he's in an excellent spot, but he definitely needs to respect this army, because if you make a blink, that's a little bit too ambitious. What I love about Maru is how decisive he is as well, and what makes Maru Maru is that he's incredibly quick in realizing which fights he can and cannot take.
Yeah.
And if herO goes a bit too far forward, Maru is going to punish him immediately.
That's very true. herO has gone up to 4 Colossus, by the way, guys, and with this forward position, if he rallies his Disruptors forward, he'll be able to again take advantage of Maru in a bit of a tight space. Those Colossus finally making an appearance, starting off the battle, and this is actually going to be it. herO is going to charge on in. One Disruptor does help a lot. A lot of Marauders went down, and the Vikings just are not killing enough Colossus fast enough. That is a pretty good concave from the Terran, however, and it looks like herO is going to need those reinforcements to help out, but they are here. The Zealots helping a tank. The Colossus still in play. Another Disruptor looking for a great shot. At the very least, stops the Marauders from attacking. It is going to be a rather even fight until the Disruptor shot there. And the Warp Prism Micro is going to help so much. That was beautiful. Maru did try his best to hold on, but lost 21 SCVs in the process. herO comfortable on 4 bases, saving his Robotech as well, and still has the Warp Prism in an aggressive situation.
herO can thank the Lord for 2 things there. The first one was that Nova that came around the corner where the Stalkers are right now, that connected with like 4 or 5 Marauders. That was big. And then that Prism sitting safely in the back, warping in those bunch of Zealots to keep the Marauders, SCVs and Vikings a little bit at bay. Because if those things weren't happening there, that honestly that could have been a very good fight for Maru. But herO knew exactly what kind of spot he was in. He needed to know, he knew when to run back, and he knew when to wait for a couple of reinforcements. Now he can safely blink forward, and that Nova only connects with a single Marauder. But it does not matter. herO with a very good game 2 will manage to tie things up and send us into a deciding game 3. Fun game so far. Both players getting a just very convincing win on the board in the end.
Yeah, I would say so. You know, maybe Maru's was a little bit cleaner, I guess, but it's hard to say that herO was that much less. It really was a great setup against that drop in the main base. It looked awkward because the Stalkers had to do so much blinking and microing, and the shield battery overcharge had to be popped, but there was no second aggression, actually, so the shield battery overcharge was just very convenient. And then the almost gigantic mistake that could have changed things around, but not quite. So, yeah, herO displaying his own really fine PVT here. And so game 3 comes down to who can do it twice, and they can only do it once. And you can
Nova.
see, yeah, it killed so many extra Marauders. It's helped out so much.
Yep, and even despite that great Nova, at one point it still started to look like maybe the Marauders can stim forward, they can just fire at Stalkers and Colossus, but that Warp Prism in the back, herO warping in like 6-7 Zealots, it just makes such a big difference. And even if that Nova didn't really connect, it forces the Terran units to disengage, and that's so painful because obviously the Colossus have far superior range, so if the Marauders are forced to run away from a Nova, whether you kill something or not, you're dealing damage to the Terran because the Colossus can just keep on firing and they don't have to worry about Marauders getting on top of them.
Yeah, exactly. It's a form of crowd control. In the midst of a battle, and even if there wasn't necessarily a battle that happened at that particular point, that was initiated by herO, and wisely apparently did win. You can still use Disruptors as basically intimidation, you know, constantly threatening any time that Maru does try and actually move out or pounce on you, and you think you're not looking, as well as, yeah, maybe take advantage of that very defensive setup that Maru had. You know, he did not get on the map again since that drop basically failed in the main base, and while the Marauder count was high, his economy was back on the way up, and it was possible he could get the amazing engagement. He was just barely shy of it. So now we head into the third game on herO.
Big moment for both of these players. Both of them currently working with 2 wins and 1 loss in the group. If you win here 3-1, you pretty much guarantee yourself top 12 in this tournament. You still have a chance to potentially win the group because you never know how Dark is going to play in his remaining matches. If you lose here, most likely still in a fine spot to make it out, but it is definitely going to get a bit scary. In the bottom left side of herO, we are looking at the main base of the man who finished second last year at the Intel Extreme Masters Katowice. This is Maru.
And at the top right, making it to the semifinals of last year's IEM Katowice, we do have for DKZ, herO.
There was a moment last year where we all looked at each other and said, PVT, Grand Finals, herO against Maru, that's going to be pretty sick, because that's really what it looked like. herO was the best PVT player on the planet, and Maru was going to play against Ragnarok, and we already saw that once in the GSL Kodes Finals, so we kind of knew how that one was most likely going to go, but the normal man had something to say about that PVT Finals.
Yeah, actually, a very convincing victory for him. At the end of the day, you know, actually, toughest one was versus Rainer, who's, by the way, 1-1 against Dark right now. So that could change things, as we were saying. Both these guys absolutely can lock in that top 3. This wouldn't quite do it, but they are obviously progressing forward. But if Dark maybe takes a loss versus Rainer and then his last series, then yeah, absolutely. It could be one of these guys actually making that first place and right into the round of 8, that qualifying match for the World Championship. They got a Zealot on the way as this probe is scouted. It is a 1-Rax expand. So maybe a little aggression from herO.
It's always fun to see how herO sometimes scouts, sometimes doesn't scout. It's a bit of a poker approach, right? Whereas like you don't always make the same move in the same scenario, which makes it a lot harder for your opponents to predict what you're going to do. So if you're Maru, you can't really take advantage, quote unquote, of the fact that herO doesn't scout, because you don't know when he's not going to scout.
Yes, yeah, 100%. Can't do that. And, well, we do see him going for that Zealot, so you also don't know if he's going to add on a Zealot. A little bit of early aggression, too. This probe is going to be found out. Like, you know, last game he actually didn't scout at all, and that Reaper still went scouting, so there it is, a nice little find. That the Reaper is already halfway, the Zealot, sorry, is halfway. The Reaper isn't going to go through the middle path, so it's going to miss its opportunity to start taking shots on that Zealot.
Yep, actually very sad for Maru. Reaper now all the way on the left side. It is returning towards the natural, so it's not super far away, but there's a good chance that this Zealot is going to be able to get a couple of swipes up on these SCVs. But herO's looking for right now is just as many swipes as possible. Whether you get a kill on the Marine or a kill on the SCV, that doesn't really matter. But kudos to Maru. Maru could not have handled this any better than he did. The Adept is already here, but the bunker was very early too. And this Adept obviously needs to be careful because Reapers are quicker. The Adept will kill the Reaper, but in the end the Adept falls. So it's a Reaper and an SCV for a Zealot and an Adept. I think if you're Maru, you're pretty happy with this because most optimal Protoss build orders don't have a Zealot. Yeah. So if they make a Zealot, they look for a little more than something that looks like an even trade.
Yeah, I absolutely think he's very happy with this. I mean, that was such a clean way of microing against a surprise. Like that first Marine barely reacted in time to the Zealot to pull it back, and then the preceding steps look so well practiced. Very, very impressive. herO is going to go for a Twilight Council in this game, despite the last game Stargate working out for him. I guess eventually it was an emphasis on the Stargate. And we could see him even add on more gateways. We'll be paying attention to that. 2 Adepts still looking to be a bother, mostly looking to actually get a proper scout, but of course should be denied. If they can get an SCV, that'd be great, but then they just shaded into a Cyclone, so the chances of, well, one dying for sure. Second one, barely enough shields to actually get out of there.
Yep, but it is still a scout. You see the Cyclone and you're like, all right, I don't have to worry about 3 racks. Unlikely that you went for a super quick 3rd command center. Maru, because he lost that Reaper in the defense against the Adept, has not scouted at all. Maybe the Cyclone is willing to go to the other side of the map, but that's a bit risky because there are side blockers, there are ramps to worry about, and you don't want to run into a couple of Stalkers. There is a world where herO finds a lot of success with 4-gate Blink Stalker aggression, because Maru went Cyclone Widowmine, I believe, before he started building tanks, so it's not exactly the quickest entry into tank production.
Actually, I don't know if he did build a Widowmine.
Yes, he did.
That was a nice side.
It's above the refinery.
That was a nice side then. Because he actually, you're very right, he doesn't actually know what his opponent is doing. So an Oracle could swoop into the main base, or it could be into the Blink Stalkers, which obviously a tank's going to be necessary. So it is a little bit more of a delayed factory unit. The tank specifically. Sometimes we do see Widow Mines, plural, as the drop and then tank those well. So one tank will be out, the second one is on the way. That this is a crucial first step to the defense that Maru doesn't actually know 100% he has to be doing.
Yeah, that bunker feels pretty far forward, by the way. That could make it a bit harder to repair it quickly and also make sure that the tank is in range. And you don't want to move the tank too far forward. Stim is very exposed. Stalkers are going to blink into the main base. There's still that one Adept that could potentially soak up a tank volley. That's kind of what the Zealot is for here as well. There is a second tank, but there is that Widowmine. So if herO blinks forward, he could potentially blink in, on top of a Widowmine. That would have been painful. I think this is going to be very uncomfortable for Maru. Like, he might be fine with double tank, a Cyclone, and minus. The Raven is on the other side of the map, and it's going to be annoying. He's probably going to grab 2 workers here, but that bunker was so far forward, it was pretty much impossible to save it.
Yeah, actually it was. And I'm not sure the supply depots were ever going to trap the Stalkers. We saw Maru is not able to respond fast enough anyway, and would have denied SCV repair if he had even tried. 6 probes to go down to the auto turret harassment. Maybe so. Well, maybe if he had focus fire, but he is making sure he can defend against the now horde of Stalkers that of course aggressively blink because it's herO. The Warp Prism comes in to clutch save some of the weakened Stalkers as the second tank did siege up to help out its deceased brother, and now that third tank comes out as well with just enough fodder units. I do believe 2 tanks sieged up will hold the natural, but you still got the mobility problem, plus 8 SCVs have also gone down for Maru, and that auto turret number 2 isn't going to happen for a little while.
That stuff in the main is going to be more difficult to defend. There is that Widowmine that's going to connect with the Warp Prism. Oh yes, oh, that's a big connection, by the way. That's scary, because now the Marines and the Cyclones are somewhat nearby as well. herO is going to split off 4 Stalkers. 4 Stalkers is the magical number to one-shot Marines, as long as they don't have combat shield, but herO probably a little bit scared after flying into that mine, and I think that's pretty understandable.
Yeah, properly so. That Cyclone was very injured though, so you can see Maru also making sure that he microed that away from the Stalkers looking to focus fire. Very cool micro from both players as herO once again jumps on top of the opportunity to kill a tank. The bunker was up and running again, but unfortunately didn't have anything in it. And the Warp Prism, although injured, is still going to try and help it on the Stalker micro, but that is a decent amount of bio, plus 2 tanks on siege. Actually very effective DPS at this point.
Yep, and +1 already done as well. Maru did lose one of those double depots, as I like to call them, as he earlier called down for depot twice, both times in the front. I was like, that's a bit risky, and herO was able to pick off one of those two. Stark is still very low on HP. Fun game on a knife's edge, exactly what we expect between herO and Maru. As herO is going to follow this up with a lot of gateways. We have charge, 60% done. That Widow Mine is still there, herO. And is going to connect well with just a Stark. It could have been worse.
Yeah.
herO is, oh my goodness, Maru's just going to pull the boys to the other side of the map. The good news for herO is that he hasn't really invested in a Robo Bay or a Forge. The bad news is that he hasn't seen this until it's going to show up. And that is crazy, because now he cannot drop any force fields on this ramp.
Yeah, no, I mean, it was one thing to see the tanks already sieging up close to your natural, but to see the SCV pull as well. The shield body overcharge not going to really be all that helpful, as he can't take the engagement. The gateways on the front are going to go down. herO does try and get as best of a concave as possible, blinking on top of the tanks as well to mitigate the damage, but still the bio is left over. The auto turret helps out. The SCVs are here to tank, and herO's supply just does not look strong enough to hold on unless he can really get some awesome blink micro going on here.
Yep, and he does have Zealot charge, and he's got a lot of gateways. He's running away to the top left side. Both players losing a lot of SCVs. Obviously losing the third Nexus is painful. But if herO can just get like 6 Zealots with charge, if the Immortal can start shooting at Marauders, there is a bit of hope. There is a War Prism. herO needs a couple of extra units to show up right here, right now. And it seems that he does not have the gateways off cooldown to do that.
Yeah, as soon as the Terran force collided again, it grouped up again underneath the Medivacs. I felt like it was kind of it. When it was separated, when it was injured, when it wasn't really being controlled on all fronts, there was a little bit of hope, but it is just too freaking much at this point. herO's last Immortal is going to be focus fired, and that does feel like it is it. Sub 30 supply is herO. It seems pretty frustrated. He thought he had a decent chance at recovering from the Fort Gate that didn't, kill Maru, but the SCV pull with the tank push is just so unexpected by us, by herO, and he was not prepared for it.
Yep, what a call by Maru. Decisive as always, just knows when to go ahead and kill a Protoss player. And probably felt, hey, if I just sit back, if I drop a third command set, it's all going to take a little bit too long. You already have 3 bases, you're going to have way too many Zealots. I'm going to go right on this very moment. And where herO is kind of running circles around the main of Maru, Maru shows up on the other side of the map with the boys as well. And if herO would have just seen that, if he would have caught a glimmer of that army, he could have moved those sentries forward. You buy some time, a single force field, a second force field. With the 8 gateways or something that he had, he could have walked in a bunch of Zealots and be okay, but he's not. It's Maru who will improve his record to 3 wins and 1 loss here in the group of death, as only Dark is